Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the often hidden, slightly misunderstood dynamics of human attraction and behavioral psychology. We'll be unpacking a specific perspective from our source material that honestly challenges pretty much everything you might think you know about connection and desire. So, let's just jump right in.
We're going to start straight away with a massive paradox presented by the source. Think about this. Why is it that the person who is literally always there, always ready to fire off a text reply, and just endlessly accommodating, often ends up getting completely ignored? Well, according to the analysis, constant availability and being overly nice might actually be the exact things killing the attraction. Crazy, right?
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We're going to cover the paradox of attraction, followed by the nice guy fallacy, filling the emotional gap, 5 psychological strategies, and we'll wrap up with reclaiming your self-respect.
All right, Section 1, the paradox of attraction and why insecurity absolutely kills desire.
So, society usually tells us that being as accommodating and eager to please as possible is the way to build attraction, right? But the source argues this standard advice is actually completely backwards and often backfires terribly. The core argument here is that women don't reject your love, they reject your insecurity. When rejection happens, the material suggests it usually isn't about a lack of affection. Instead, it's a subconscious, gut-level reaction to perceived fear and weakness. Because attraction isn't exactly logical, you know? It's a biological and emotional response to strength and stability.
And the antidote to all of this neediness? The source identifies it as Stoicism. Now, in this specific context, Stoicism means remaining totally emotionally centered. It's about not flying off the handle or spiraling when you're ignored, and essentially not requiring constant external validation to feel good about yourself. This unshakable emotional core is the ultimate signal of true confidence.
Moving right along to Section 2, the nice guy fallacy and breaking the predictability trap.
A lot of men fall into the trap of thinking they need to ask for permission for every little thing, shower someone with gifts, and just be perpetually available. But the source points out a harsh reality. While that seems respectful on the surface, asking for permission for every single move actually broadcasts a major lack of confidence. Instead, what supposedly triggers real, subconscious attraction is quiet, decisive leadership, emotional stability, and keeping just a little bit of mystery alive.
The speaker in the source material uses this incredibly striking metaphor. If you are entirely predictable, never challenge the status quo, and you're just always waiting around, you literally become like an old car parked in a garage. Are you safe? Sure. Predictable? Absolutely. But ultimately, you are completely ignored because there is zero excitement or uncertainty associated with you.
And it really all boils down to that number, 0. When there is zero uncertainty in a dynamic and zero effort required to get your attention, the source argues that zero dopamine is released in the brain. And dopamine is the reward chemical. Without the thrill of the chase or even just a slight fear of loss, desire is effectively neutralized. By making yourself too easily attainable, you essentially destroy your own perceived value in the dynamic.
Okay, Section 3, filling the emotional gap and the nuance of connection.
The material applies these concepts to a very specific, nuanced dynamic, married women who feel emotionally neglected. Now, despite having a partner who might be a great provider, the source claims many of these women experience a profound emotional void and deep loneliness. And here's the kicker. The key to connection here isn't some grand romantic gesture. It's actually just providing a safe, totally non-judgmental space for them to be heard. It's about listening without jumping in to fix her problems with unsolicited advice, which, let's be honest, a lot of us do. By offering that pure listening ear, you trigger what the source calls her fantasy world, a deep desire for someone who truly understands her emotionally, placing mental connection way above any kind of physical pursuit.
Now we reach the real toolkit of this explainer. Section 4, 5 psychological strategies and actionable steps for building attraction. The source outlines these 5 core psychological strategies to actually shift these relationship dynamics. What's really interesting is how they progress. They start from internal self-improvement, getting your own house in order, and then move outward to subtle communication tactics. Let's break them down. First up, strategies 1 and 2, which are entirely focused on you. The source insists you absolutely cannot build attraction if you're just sitting around obsessing over a text message. You have to shift your focus back to your own life, your career, your fitness, your personal passions. On top of that, you have to stop reacting to emotional drama.
If someone's silence or mood swings cause you to panic and fire off 10 anxious text messages, you've just handed over all your power. Emotional stillness is an absolute must here.
Strategy 3 leverages this incredibly fascinating psychological phenomenon called the mirror neuron effect. The idea is that by subtly, and I mean subconsciously, copying someone's body language or the tone of their voice, you actually trigger a feeling of deep similarity in their brain. When people feel like you are just like them, the source claims it bypasses their logical defenses and rapidly builds subconscious trust and a really strong emotional connection.
Then we have strategies 4 and 5. The advice here is simple. Avoid the trap of oversharing. If you sit down and spill your entire life story and every past trauma on day one, there's literally nothing left to discover. You have to maintain a compelling mystery so they keep coming back. And finally, don't rush to slap a label on the relationship. The source strongly advises letting the other person take the first step in defining things. This removes all that unnecessary pressure and makes the commitment feel like it was entirely their own idea.
And that brings us to our final section, number 5, reclaiming your self-respect, which is really the ultimate message of the source.
Ultimately, the material pivots away from tactics to deliver this blunt, foundational truth. Attraction cannot be begged for. It's that simple. If you ever find yourself crying, pleading, or trying to negotiate for someone's time or affection, you have already lost the dynamic before the game even truly began. The argument is that attraction is a byproduct of respect, and there's just no way to negotiate respect.
The source is explicitly clear about this next point. The true purpose of these tools is absolutely not for manipulation or playing cheap mind games. It's really about regaining your lost self-esteem. It's about building an emotional balance that is so sturdy, you actually have the internal strength to just walk away from toxic relationships or situations that aren't serving you anymore. It's about becoming so incredibly secure in yourself that getting another person's validation becomes optional rather than a desperate requirement for your own happiness.
So, I'll leave you with this provocative question raised by the material. Are you spending your precious energy chasing validation from others? Or are you actually doing the hard work of building a life where your grounded self-respect makes you naturally attractive? It's a pretty massive shift in perspective, right? Thank you so much for joining me to unpack these concepts today. Keep building that self-respect, and I'll see you in the next explainer.